everyone, my name's Sarah and this is my channel, So Sarah Sewed. In today's video, I'm excited to share with you everything I made in the month of June. In June, I managed to make myself 2 tops and some pants, and I also made a dress for my 2-year-old niece and a cape for a costume for my 5-year-old son. I'll start with the tops because I'm wearing one of those today. Now this is the Tilly and the Buttons Agnes top. This wasn't on my plans for June actually, but when I was reflecting on my month of May, my Me Made May, I realized that a lot of the time I was wishing I had more long sleeve tops in the cooler weather. And I love wearing my York pinafores, and I'm wearing one of those today as well, a Helen's Closet pattern. And I just wished I had more long sleeve tops to wear under them. And I particularly like my Agnes top that I made with the ruched sleeves. I'll put in a picture of me wearing it in Me Made May. And I thought it would be great to have at least another one of those to be able to wear on the cold days. So I popped into Spotlight and picked up this cotton elastane fabric with these cute little flowers on it, and whipped up a Tilly and the Buttons Agnes top. So as I mentioned, I've made this pattern before. One of the things I really like about it, and I used for this version, is the option to do the ruched sleeves, as you can see, to make this nice little puffed sleeve, which I think balances out the York silhouette really nicely. You can't see it today because I'm wearing it underneath this York pinafore, but the Agnes top actually has quite a low neckline. So I'll put some pictures of me wearing it without the York pinafore so you can see what I mean. There are a few options with this top. One of them is the sleeve length, and I've gone the full length sleeve because I really wanted it to keep warm in the winter. And then you can just make a very simple plain neckline and a normal regular sleeve, or you can add ruching with elastic at the neckline, which I haven't done. And you can add ruching to the sleeves, which I have done. As I mentioned, I really love the way these two pieces work together. So I've got a blue pinafore as well that this will work really nicely with as well. The other top I made this month was also a knit top. It is the Vera top by Forget Me Not Patterns. I actually made this top just in May, and I loved the way this fit and I loved the way it came together. And in May I made it with a bamboo, quite a drapey fabric, and was very, very happy with the result. So I thought I'd give this one a go again, but this time with a more stable knit. This one is, it's actually 100% cotton, and it's by Dupes Designs. I think the fabric design was called something like Leopard Play or something like that, but you can see it here. Not sure if I already mentioned, but this is a free pattern and it has a V neckline. And then there are 3 different sleeves that you can do. So the one that I did just comes below the elbow with a small cuff. Then there's a long cuffed version, and there's also a version that you can just leave off the cuff and end up with quite a big bell sleeve shape. When I made this top in May, I was a little bit worried about getting that V really perfect, and I ended up deciding that it wasn't actually that important. No one's really going to see. So this time I wasn't worried as much about whether that V was going to line up completely perfectly. It doesn't perfectly, but it's good enough, I think. So I'll put some pictures in of me wearing it. As you can see, this one, because I've used a more stable knit than the one I made with the bamboo, it's not as drapey. I'll put some side by side so you can sort of compare. I really love this Vera top pattern, and I would recommend it if you haven't already given it a go. And I think I'm going to enjoy wearing this, especially with jeans and things as the weather warms up and I get to show off this awesome print by Dupes Designs. The Vera top is available up to a 48.5 inch bust and a 52.5 inch hip. I made the size 38 for this one. So onto my pants. Now these were my big project of the month, the Arthur pants by Sew Liberated. I have been wanting to make these pants all year. I've had the pattern printed since late last year. I've had the fabric bought since early this year, and I finally got round to making them and finding that confidence to just give them a go. I really enjoyed making these and seeing these come together, and I'm very, very happy with the final product. I'll talk you through what I really like and some of the changes I might make if I am to make them again. So the Arthur pants are a very voluminous pant. The shape of them really does go out a lot at the hips and then tapers back in again towards the ankle. And there are two different waistband finishes. You can have a fly front and button waistband, or you can have a fully elasticized waistband. So the fly front version has an elasticized back. So that's the one I went for. This is the very first time I've ever put a zip into some pants before. All the other pants I've ever made have just been fully elasticized, so that was a really great challenge for me, and I'm really thrilled with how that turned out actually. I knew that Sew Liberated had a sew along for these pants, and I used that for those first steps and that got me up to where I had to start doing the fly front. Unfortunately, that sew along video, she's done the fully elasticized waistband version. So if that's the version you're going to make, then that video will be really helpful for the whole thing. But for me, at that point, I really just had to look at the instructions and work my way, work it out from those. And I have to say, sometimes with those instructions, I found it a little bit confusing. The main thing that got me confused was the use of a term which hadn't been used at all. I think there was a reference to the fly guard, and there was no other mention at all anywhere about a piece being called a fly guard. And being new to making fly front pants myself, I wasn't sure what that meant. So I did have to reach out to my Instagram followers and see if anyone else could give me advice as to how to go about that step, which they did, and I did end up getting that bit over the line, so that was really helpful. And then when I was doing the waistband at the very end, I found the instructions again to be unclear, and again this was a section that wasn't in the sew along because it was the fly front waistband. So I kind of, in the end, to make that waistband, I sort of just turned it the way I thought it would all end up going, and then worked backwards from there to figure out what the steps actually meant. And I think it all worked out quite well in the end. So I used a washed linen in an eggplant color from My Design for my fabric, and here they are. There are a lot of seams in these pants, and almost all of them are flat felled, so it's got a really nice clean finish, which I like, especially because I don't have an overlocker. So it's really nice to know that the insides are all well finished, and it's just a really nice look. I visited my local button shop, Button Mania, who helped me find a button to match onto the front there. The other thing that I found interesting was when I finished, mine didn't look like a lot of people's that I'd seen on Instagram. Just mainly this bit that crosses over at the front. So most people's, this section goes quite a bit further over than the fly, but mine pretty much finished almost on top of the fly. So I don't know why, but it still works. I don't think it's a disaster or anything, but I was just interested to see that mine doesn't look quite like other people's. So it's quite hard to show them just sitting here and holding them up. So I will put lots of pictures in of me wearing them. Now, I'm 5 foot, about 5'2" or 3", 160 centimeters tall. And this pattern was based on someone being 5'7". And I decided to take quite a bit of length off. And what I did, and this is something the instructions recommended, was to find some pants that I already had and measure how long they were, and then see how long I wanted mine based on that. And I ended up taking off 3.75 inches off the length. And when I finished, I think that was a little bit too much. So I think that these pants will work really, really well in the spring and the summer with sandals perhaps, or slides. But trying to wear them with my boots was a little bit tricky. They hit just at the top of the boot and were a little bit awkward. So not sure how I'll be able to wear these in the winter, but I am planning on making a black version as well, which I will. I won't shorten as far. I'll probably add another 1 1/4 inch back onto them just to get them to hit right at the right place. The tricky thing with these pants is that you do need to make sure that you've got the length right at the start because of that shape. If you try and hem them at the end and take off length there, you'll lose that shape of the leg. So it is important to sort of have an idea of the length that you want before you begin. So next time I just won't make them quite so short. I made a size 10 in these. So my measurements put me around a size 14, but looking at the finished measurements, there's so much ease in those hips. And the recommendation in the pattern is if you don't want them to be too voluminous, that you can size down 1 or 2 sizes. Because there's the elastic in the waistband, sizing down to a size 10 was not a problem. And actually I'm really, really happy with the fit around the waist. And I'll definitely make this size again next time. So because of all the flat felled seams and the fact that I had to put a zip in for the first time, these did take me quite a long time, but I'm really, really happy with the result and I'm looking forward to making myself another pair. That's all the things that I got finished for myself in June, but I did do a little bit of sewing for other people as well. The first of those being for my son. Now he has a school movie that he's preparing for and they were supposed to be filming in June. He plays a goblin in his movie. We're not given too much guidance on what we need to provide for our children, but they were sort of told earthy colours, and I thought a cape might be appropriate for a goblin. So I found this pattern. It's a simplicity pattern, S9162. And I wanted to make this version here. I went to Spotlight for the supplies for this. It was quite hard to find a fabric that I was really happy with. And I had one of my children there with me, so I wasn't really in a browsing kind of state. We were kind of, the time was of the essence. So I ended up picking, I think it was a cotton, it might have been a drill, it might have been a duck. One of the two, did they call them at Spotlight? And I tried to use kind of an earthy kind of tone. I'll show you. So that pattern came in sizes 3 to 8 and I made a size 5 for my son. He's 5.5 years old, but he is on the smaller side for his age. So here is the finished cape. It's got a really, really large hood. Now it took me quite a long to make it actually. It wasn't the easiest make in the world, but especially the amount of gathers in this cape section. It's a really, really big piece of fabric. I'll show you. And that was all gathered in and attached to this hood piece. So it's hard to show you, and I have got a couple of photos of him wearing it with his pajamas when I finished it a few weeks ago. The filming actually ended up being postponed, so he hasn't worn it in real life yet. He's just worn it when I finished it around the house, but I'll just put in some pictures of what I have for now. And the last thing I got made up this month was a dress for my almost 2-year-old niece. She is a big fan of the Wiggles and she loves wearing dresses and twirling around in them, and so when I found out she had tickets to see the Wiggles live in concert, I thought I would make her a special dress for the occasion. Now she loves Lockie Wiggle and he's the purple Wiggle. So I ended up deciding to make a knit dress. It is the Wattle Dress by Peony Patterns. And this pattern goes from sizes 1 all the way through to 14. So you do get quite a bit of value from this pattern. So as I mentioned, it's a knit pattern and I ended up using an Eco Vero rayon from Spotlight for mine. I found a purple for the bodice and then a black for the skirt. There are a few variations for this pattern. There are 3 different sleeve lengths, short, elbow and long, and there are 2 different dress lengths. The first is a mini length and the second is a regular dress length. I went for the long sleeves and the mini dress length. I'll put some photos in of when I gave her this dress and she tried it on. I think one thing that's you can see from the photos is it's got a really wide neckline, so it's really easy to get over the head, which is great. The bodice is lined with the same fabric, so that makes a really clean finish as well, and that was quite fun to make. And then the skirt was a circle skirt, so she's going to love twirling in this one. I definitely plan to make this one again. The instructions on this pattern were excellent, really, really clear and easy to follow. And the pattern also came with layers, so it was easy just to print the one that I needed. One thing I did notice about this pattern, however, is that I had way too much fabric. When the fabric requirements said 1 meter for the skirt, I really needed much less than that, and same with the top requirements. I didn't need anywhere near what they had said. So I think that next time I'll probably buy a little bit less fabric, but I also think that I might have quite a few scraps, knit scraps, that I would be able to draw upon if I was to try and make another one. So that's definitely one to look at if you're interested in making dresses. It's the Wattle Dress by Peony Patterns. So that is everything I got made up in the month of June. I am particularly proud of my Arthur pants and conquering my fear of that fly front, and I'm looking forward to now moving on to more and more fly front pants. Thanks so much for spending your time watching me today. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please do give it a thumbs up, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.